Okay, welcome back to the Jermaine Brown Sports Talk Show. Again, it's this Friday, December 27th, 2013. This Sunday is a game. I'm a New York Jet fan, so let me preface by saying that and add that disclaimer. I am a New York Jet fan. This Sunday, the Jets is going to be playing against the Miami Dolphins down in Miami. Now, this game only takes on importance for two reasons. One of which, the Dolphins is fighting for their sixth and final seed in the AFC. And the second reason of importance is, will this be Rex Ryan's last game? Now, let me talk about Rex Ryan in particular. I'm going to be honest. I've never been a big fan of Rex Ryan, the head coach. I'm a big fan of Rex Ryan, the defensive coordinator, but not Rex Ryan, the head coach. And there are reasons for me saying that. Recently, it was leaked that he told his team that he was going to be fired. Personally, I find that as being bush league. A real head coach don't do that. Now, if you want to talk about the topic, you can, but you don't go and tell your team, I think I'm going to be fired. I think they don't want me here. No, you don't do that. Okay? Player's job is to play. Coach's job is to coach. Now, the question is, should he be fired? Now, let me preface by saying this before I give you my actual opinion. Well, you kind of already know my opinion. I already told you I'm not a fan of him as a head coach. He should be fired, but not based off this year. This year, you got to honestly say he did a pretty good job with this team. I mean, this team was no more than a 4 or 5-win team. They're at least a 7-win team, and depending what happens this Sunday, could be an 8-win team. So he really coached his butt off this year. So the question is, well, Jermaine, why do you want him fired? It's real simple. Why want him fired? 3 straight years, non-playoffs. And next year ain't looking right now too promising either. But we'll worry about next year. But 3 straight years, non-playoffs. 3 straight years, it's like the team has gotten worse, not better, under Rex Ryan. I look at a situation down there in Carolina with Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera was on the same hot seat as Rex Ryan in a much tougher division. The NFC South, where you deal with teams like Atlanta and New Orleans. Now, luckily for the Carolina Panthers, Atlanta was not good this year, but New Orleans is still good. New Orleans could have easily won that division. But after starting off 1-3, Carolina got its act together and went on a big winning streak. And they ended up, depending what happens this Sunday, they could end up winning their division and winning the second seed. How do you fire a guy after that? So his team responded with him being on that hot seat. So it's going to make it hard for Dave Gentleman, who's the GM of the Carolina Panthers, to fire him. Because the guy that made the playoffs this year, and if they win this Sunday against an Atlanta team, which is beatable. Because I think Atlanta is going to actually pack his bags and just head home. You know, they're already home, but they're going to just call it a day. So this is a game Carolina should really win. So let's say they win this game. Let's assume they win this game. Then that means that Carolina will win the second seed in the NFC, which guarantees them a first-round bye. How do you fire a guy off of that? So Ron Rivera deserves a multi-year deal. Now let's come back to New York. Though Rex Ryan has done a good job this year, here's why we cannot bring Rex back. I don't like the idea of bringing Rex back next year. People are saying, well, first the media is saying, well, Woody Johnson likes him. Woody Johnson this, Woody Johnson that. The New York media don't seem to get it. This decision, let's assume John Izek is not a figurehead of a GM. Let's assume he has real powers as a GM. If he has real powers as a GM, then it is not Woody Johnson's decision to make. It's going to be John Izek's decision to make whether to bring back Rex Ryan. Woody will give his opinion, but John should have the final say. He's the GM of the team. And since his neck is on the line, he should have the final say when it comes to this issue. And a lot of people say, oh, it isn't fair. It isn't fair. Rex won 7, 8 games this year with a team that was scheduled to only win 3 or 5 games. First of all, we all predicted 3 to 5 games, but we predicted wrong. The Jets was better than that. But remember this. Last year, Lovie Smith won 10 games for the Chicago Bears. And he still got his money. He still got fired. And he won 10 games. They were the last day on the verge of making the playoffs, except Minnesota won its final game. They were still in the playoff hunt. And yet he still got fired. So don't tell me about fairness. We don't live in a fair world. We live in a world as you get what you get. That's just the reality. Now, getting back to Rex Ryan. Here's the question I have for everyone as to whether you should be bringing back Rex Ryan or not. I'm not a believer, a guy on the hot seat, which Rex was this year. Just because he won some games, you say, okay, let me bring you back next year, but you're going to be on the hot seat again next year. I'm not in favor of that. Folks, when you look at the best teams in this league, where do they have stability at? The two most important positions in the sport. Quarterbacking and head coach. Notice the top tier teams, the teams that consistently win, the Giants, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Patriots. Okay? Teams that consistently win, you don't hear about their head coaches being in trouble. Because why? They keep their head coaches. You don't hear about them constantly on the hot seat. Every year they're on the hot seat. You don't hear about that. The teams that consistently lose, every year this coach is on the hot seat or that coach is on the hot seat. To me, this doesn't work. I don't believe in bringing back Rex Ryan next year to be back on the hot seat again next year. So here's the question that I have for people that want Rex Ryan back. Are you prepared to sign him to a multi-year deal, which means he'll be here for the next 2 to 4 years? If the answer is yes, bring back Rex Ryan. If the answer is no, move on. Because what sense does it make to bring you back next year to be on the hot seat again next year? And don't give me this every year coaches coach for their jobs. That's bull crap. That's bull hickey, okay? Bill Belichick don't coach for his job every year. That's nonsense. Mike Tomlin, unless Pittsburgh gets a miracle this Sunday, which means they got to win, and then they need Baltimore and Miami to lose and San Diego to lose. These teams lose, then Pittsburgh gets in. So it looks like it's going to be a second year in a row Pittsburgh doesn't make the playoffs. You don't hear about Tomlin on the hot seat. Okay? And the only reason you heard about Coughlin on the hot seat is because of the real bad year the Giants had, where they got off to an 0-6 start. If the Giants didn't get off to such a bad start, you wouldn't be hearing about Coughlin on the hot seat. And he's not going to get fired. They're not firing him after this year. They're just not. I'll be surprised if they fire Tom Coughlin after this year. And Coughlin should not be fired after this year. That being said, get back to Rex Ryan. I'm not a believer in bringing him back next year to be on the hot seat again next year. And if you're Rex Ryan, you should have a little pride in yourself to say, you know what, no. What I went through this year, I'm not going through again next year. Sign me to a multi-year deal or we walk. We go our separate ways. Because I don't want to be coaching for my job again next year. That is no way to run a ball club. It's counterproductive. It puts everybody on edge, and it doesn't allow people to do what they do best. Because you watched Rex Ryan this year, he was practically quieter than the church mouse. He hardly said anything. You could just see he had no joy this year. And that's not the way to coach the game. Now, I believe he got every ounce of talent off this club that day, because it's not a very good ball club, to be really honest with you. But then again, this same ball club beat teams like New England, New Orleans, Atlanta, when everybody still thought Atlanta was about something. Okay? They beat some pretty good teams. So you can't say this team is so bad. See, it would have been better had they not beaten those good teams. They just beat up on the bad teams. Then you could say this is a bad team. Because why? All the teams they beat up were on bad. But that's not the case with the Jets. The Jets actually beat some credible teams. Some legitimate teams. So really, were the Jets that bad? Or I just think it was more the Jets were inconsistent than so much being bad. But getting back to Rex, so my question to everybody is this. Are you prepared to sign him to a multi-year deal? If the answer is yes, based off this year, if the answer is yes, bring back Rex Ryan. If the answer is no, I think we should move on to a new head coach. Now, I would like to move on to a couple of games this weekend that's going to decide the NFC East and the NFC North division. Let me get to the NFC North division first. You got the Chicago Bears at the the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. Now, the winner of this game wins the North. The loser is out of the playoffs. It's just plain and simple, pure cut. Okay? There's no one, this team has to lose also. No, it's just the winner of this game gets the division. The loser of this game, see you next year. Now, Aaron Rodgers will be coming back after a 7-week absence due to I believe it was a collarbone issue. Broken collarbone. Forget about the fact of whether he should be playing or not. He's playing. This game that I'm wondering about, why I'm intrigued by this game, is because the Bears they're at home, and the question is, will they win this game? Now, you can make the argument that the best quarterback on the Bears this year, or the guy who has played the best this year, the best quarterback is Jay Cutler. That is no argument. But the quarterback who's played the best this year on the Bears is Josh McCown. You can legitimately make that argument. Go look at the stats, folks, and you'll understand why I say what I'm saying. That being said, it was the right move to put Cutler back in there. Cutler is going to be the guy that's going to either get you to the playoffs or he's not. And he should be that guy, and for this reason why. He's the guy who's coming up for a contract extension. There's a good chance Josh McCown will not be there next year for league reasons. There's no need for me to get into that. But he'll be somewhere else. But the question is whether Jay Cutler deserves a new contract. This game is going to be a referendum on Jay Cutler. Fair or not, that's just the way it is. This game's going to be a referendum on Jay Cutler. If Jay Cutler plays well and the Bears win, they make the postseason, Jay Cutler most likely gets a new contract. Okay? If they don't win, let's say he doesn't play well and they don't win, then there's a good chance he played his last game in Chicago. If he plays well and they don't win, there's a good chance they still bring him back. But this game is going to be a referendum on Jay Cutler, and it should be. Because they have to decide whether they're going to pay Jay Cutler the money. Personally, I'm leery of playing Jay Cutler. I like Jay Cutler, but Jay Cutler is only, let's be really honest about this. He hasn't made the playoffs many times in his career. Okay? He's getting paid as if he's a superstar quarterback, a franchise quarterback. He may be a franchise quarterback, but I wouldn't call him a superstar quarterback. And yet he's getting paid as if he's a championship caliber quarterback. And he has not proven that he is that. So I'm leery about how much to pay Jay Cutler. But this Sunday's game will tell me whether I should even offer him a contract or should I let him go. This is going to be a very interesting game, folks. Now, there is a debate, or there was a statement made today that I heard by some sports people that that I had to question. And that is, they said that the Bears are not as good this year as they were last year. Now, if you go by record, that is the case. They're not as good as this year as they were last year. I'd be a fool to sit here and tell you they're a better team this year than they were last year if you go based off a record. I'd be a fool to tell you they're a better team this year than they were last year if you go off of defense. Their defense is nowhere near as good this year as they were last year. However, I'm going to make the argument that the Bears is actually a better team this year than they were last year, despite the fact that their defense isn't as good and their record isn't as good as it was last year. But I'm going to explain to you why this team is actually better this year than they were last year. And it has to do with offense. Look, folks, whether we like it or not, this has become an offensive league. This league is about offense. The rules are set up to placate the offense. The way the league wants it, they want points, they want yards. They want yards, they want a lot of points. That's the way they want it. They've made it where the defense is really handicapped. You might have a great defense one year, but you're not going to be able to have it consistently great. The best you can do is have a consistently good defense. Under Lovie Smith, the Bears have had a consistently good defense. But the problem is their offense was at best pedestrian. And they couldn't protect their quarterbacks to save their lives. You look at the Chicago Bears offense today, or look at them this year. Their offense looks a lot better. So then you say, well, what gives? It's just that they're being better coached offensively. They got a much more offensive-minded coach in Mark Trestman. And so I expected their offense to actually be better. And because of that, I'm making the argument they're better off today than they were this time last year. Because to me, at least they're heading in the right direction. This is a team that could be one of the better offensive teams in the league. When you got Brendan Marshall, Alshon Jeffries, you got some real weapons there in Chicago. Now the question is, can Jay Cutler deliver the goods this Sunday? That's the only question that I have there in Chicago. Because defensively, no, they're not as good as they were last year. Not even close. Now you got this game that's going to be more toward the east, where you got the Dallas Cowboys visiting, the Philadelphia Eagles visiting the Dallas Cowboys. So actually that game is in the South. Sorry. Yes, that game is in the South because you got the Philadelphia Eagles visiting the Dallas Cowboys. Now, what made this game interesting earlier this week was the idea of Romo and the Cowboys. In the final game of the season, will they have the usual meltdown? Well, unfortunately, as everybody already knows, Romo is out with a herniated disc in his back. Okay? And I wish the man a speedy recovery and hope to see you on the gridiron next year. He's really a good guy, and he's a very good player. He's a very good quarterback. I also think he's overpaid, but that said, he's a very good quarterback. And he can quarterback my team any day of the week and twice on Sundays. That being said, unfortunately, he's out, which takes some of the luster off this game. Because what made this game interesting was to see whether Romo was going to have that usual December swoon or collapse, or whether he was going to lead his team, get on that white horse, lead his team into the postseason. But we will not know that now, because now they're forced to go with Kyle Lorton. Now, everyone is pretty much jumping on the Eagles bandwagon in this game, expecting the Eagles to win. I'm going to use a line from my man Lee Corso from college football. Not so fast, my friends. I think it is a grave mistake to take the Cowboys lightly. Kyle Orton can play in this league, folks. He's not, I would say, an everyday starter, but he can be. He's a very good spot starter. And he's a very good backup. You can do a lot worse than Kyle Lorton. Trust me when I say this. You can do a lot worse than Kyle. Kyle Lorton is more than competent. So if you think he's no Tony Romo, but he can run Dallas's offense. He's done it before. He can run Dallas's offense. Now, here's what I would do if I'm Dallas. Here's how I play this. I'm going to give DeMarco Murray the ball a lot. At least 30 times. He's got to touch the ball at least 30 times this game. It would be a travesty, a crime if he doesn't touch the ball at least 30 times this game. He's got to get his touches. I'm going to run DeMarco Murray. I'm going to slow this game down. We're going to do some ground and pound here. And for a number of reasons, I have to do this. Number one, to keep my atrocious defense off the field as much as possible. Now, the Eagles, the way they play, they don't really care about time of possession. But all I'm asking is that my defense get a few stops. If we can do that, we can win this game playing this way. And then I'm going to ask that Kyle Lorton just make a few plays in the passing game. Okay? But Kyle Lorton can play. And I think everybody... Now, here's the question that I have. Will the Cowboys show up, or will they have this woe is me, no Tony Romo, okay, let's call it a day? I actually think they're going to show up because you want to know why? I think they're going to want to prove that they're more than just about Tony Romo. And I think some players, and I was thinking about it today, some players may be secretly, I wouldn't say happy, because you always would prefer Romo over Kyle Lorton. But some players might be saying this might not be the worst thing, because here's why. Romo, if the coach, let's say, called a running play, Romo will be quick to audible out of it, while Kyle Lorton will run the play. That's called. Romo will be more quick to audible out of it, while Kyle Lorton will run the play that's called. So some players might look at this and say, this is a good thing in this case. Run the play that's called. Because when you audible, a lot of times, that's when mistakes is made on the field, is when you got guys who audible, because the player may not know what the play is. So you got a guy running the wrong route. A lot of times it's because of an audible that you get mistakes made on the field. Because you got to make certain when you audible, everybody's on the same page. Everybody knows what to run and where to go. Okay? And so Kyle Lorton doesn't really audible. So this may actually be a good thing for the Cowboys this week. Now, should they win this week, I don't like their chances in the playoffs. But that's another story for another day. But I am going to go on the limb and pick the Cowboys to beat the Philadelphia Eagles this week. Now, let's see if they prove me right. I want to thank you for watching another segment of the Jermaine Brown Sports Talk Show. And again, I want to wish everyone happy holidays. I want to see if I will have another segment before the new year. If not, happy New Year to each and every one of you. Thank you.